You watching the Super Retriever Blues. One false turn and your dog could lose. You try and bring him through the field, and yet gold he does not yield. You try everything in the book, so your dog will get one good look. You try to send him over through wet fields and clover. Your dog's out of luck, 'cause he missed the duck. Same old song, your dog won't go long. Finding a bird is the game. Now you know how Huntsville got its name. Look at these dogs, ready to roll, as the handlers show you some soul. These dogs will fly through grass and thistle. They'll hate it when they hear the whistle. That means they've gotten a fault, and they're no longer the salt of their handler's eye. You can act like you just don't care, throwing your cap up in the air. Oh yeah, they may act all blasé, but they are watching dogs ruin their day. Sometimes there's nothing they can do but stare. There's their big expensive dog just loses its flair. Nothing can be colder than the tap on the shoulder, which means that you've got the SRS blues. You came to win, but you had to lose. It's the second installment of an exciting competition in Huntsville, Alabama, as we're on the G.W. Jones farm on a gorgeous day. I'm Craig O'Neill showing you our scoreboard. Look at Clint Johnson with his dog Horton. Came through that long test with just 4 faults. Yes, it is a severe test. Let's get more from Justin Tackett on the course.
Here's how it shakes out, Craig. The Eukanuba virtual course doesn't seem that difficult, but there it is right there. Mark 1, 400 yards, a lot of terrain between the line and that long bird. 2 and 3, hey, they're gimmies. Number 1, that's where the money's made. That's where you earn your food. That's where you got to keep your place on the truck. You got to pick that thing up. You got to pick it up clean, or you will not make it to the next series.
All right, we just showed you Clint Johnson has the lead. Now he's bringing another dog, Rudy, to the line.
Actually, Rudy should be better for this test. Horton's an excellent dog, can do a lot of things, but when you think long, you think of Rudy.
Rudy, wow. Rudy's a dream. He's 6 years old. I have a client named Sherry McClure from Shreveport, Louisiana. She was looking for a dog to teach her how to run master tests, is all she actually wanted. She ends up with Rudy. We got Rudy from Danny Farmer. Started running him in master test. He did really well. Decided to give him a shot at SRS, and it was all over from there. He's now become the most consistent dog in the finals of the SRS. Rudy was born in Missouri. He was raised by a man named N.P. Larson, who's actually running as an amateur, doing very good with a dog named Twiggy. From there, he went to John and Suzanne Carr. They also own Jack, who runs with Lyle Steinman. They decided to sell Rudy and promote Jack as their SRS dog after his SRS win in North Carolina with Danny Farmer. Since then, Rudy has been with me. He's done a tremendous job. He started off in the SRS last year in Reno, made the semifinals his very first time. Started creeping up the chart. He lost the Team of the Year race by a point on time. It was a tiebreaker, and he lost the tiebreaker. So this year, he came back on a mission. He wanted to compete for the top spot overall, and we started working on it, made all the events. He's a dream to handle. We call him Cool Hand Rudy. He sits on the line, doesn't move a muscle, watches his birds down, and all he does is pin his ears back and go get them.
That's all anybody wants out of a retriever.
You can tell it in Rudy's face, too. He's very aggressive on the field, sometimes a little bit too aggressive. As Clint watches now, Rudy is lost, it looks like, Justin, around the stream bed here.
Actually, this is not a bad job. What the judges are looking for is for the dog to stay in that shaded area. We call that the area of the fall. As long as the dog stays in there and puts on a good hunt, shows courage, shows tenacity, trying to find that bird. We know as judges that he knows where that bird is. Now we're just looking for him to dig it out. And so that's okay. Think about it. This is the last bird he's going to pick up the first bird down. We've probably burned 12 minutes of memory for him to get there. Very nice job.
13 faults. Clint showed a lot of patience, and look at the scoreboard we're going to show you. Clint Johnson's patience is paying off. He's got the number 1 and 2 dogs with a lot more dogs to go, including Stoner Ridge Navigator and Bobby Wills coming up.
The Super Retriever series has been brought to you by Avery, welcome to your life. Eukanuba, make a good dog great. Max Prairie Wings, America's premier waterfowl outfitter. And by these fine sponsors: Mountaintop Custom Kennels, Pro Drive, Creative Answer, and Splash Dogs.
Gorgeous day, Huntsville, Alabama, the G.W. Jones Farm, and we're going to welcome Bobby Wills to the line. He's really been coming on.
I tell you what, I remember Nav 3 years ago probably. He was wild, crazy, and he still is wide open. But what I'm saying is he and Bobby have really developed, and he's got every tool that you're looking for in a young dog. I mean, he runs hard, he marks great, got a great attitude, great set of eyes, big confidence, a lot of courage. He's a good-looking dude. I mean, there's just nothing you can say bad about Nav.
Nav is owned by Eddie Watkins, who placed with Nav in the amateur division of SRS in Nebraska.
A chance to be a qualifier for the Crown Championship for both the AM and Pro divisions.
Of course, you know, Nav's just a nickname.
Stone Ridge Navigator. He was born in Nashville, Tennessee. He was owned by Ian Hay. He was from Minnesota. He was an amateur, and he wanted a dog for the hunt test. And Nav was out of Cosmo and also out of Annie Raising a Ruckus. So he had a real nice pedigree. The guy took him because he run him. He got his HR title at a very early age. He got his first master pass at like 8.5 months old, and he started seeing what he had. So he started running some field trials with the dog. And the more tests he run with this dog, sort of the looser and wilder he got at the line. He couldn't handle Nav anymore. Nav was just too much dog. Mr. Farmer looked at the dog for about 3 or 4 weeks. And I talked to Danny about the dog, because Danny told me that he had as much natural talent as any dog that he's ever seen. I thought that if I can find a good buyer for him, that he'd make a nice SRS dog. Eddie Watkins and Deanna Warwick ended up buying the dog. They ended up buying Nav when he was 4-year-old. He's now about 6. So I've had him about 2 years. He's made the Crown. He also qualified for the Crown with his owner, Eddie. Come in 3rd in the AM. He's made the top 12 for him a couple more times. He's a man. That's just about all you can say about him. He's full of go. He's full of want to. He's calm and cool at the trailer. He never barks. He's never scratching on the door. He's just sitting there. But when he gets out, he's all business. He'd rather retrieve than do anything else in the world.
Pretty good job for Nav as Bobby Wills and his dog move into 2nd place.
I'm telling you, you got to watch this dog. He's going to be big time.
We're going to go to the dock up next for the Superfly competition. Let's get it on when we come back. Let's go to the Valley Bend Shopping Center in Huntsville, Alabama on a gorgeous day. Nice crowd is gathered for the semifinals of the Superfly competition. We're going to show you the early rounds and the early jumps, and the dogs were looking good, like Coco with Vicky Boudouin.
I mean, we got great weather. The dogs love it. Vicky Boudouin did a great job. Here's Quinn, Huntsville, Alabama.
Nothing like a local competitor to bring the crowd out to pump up the enthusiasm. Here's Greg Curry from Huntsville. His dog Bullock did really, really well.
Bullock's a missile. Browning, Blaine Baudouin, he's multifaceted. I mean, he's got dogs that can jump high, jump far, the whole deal. And we've got strong dressers out here as well.
Spud with that new costume. I wonder if he's going to get a endorsement deal. Rebel, who actually won the Super V last week.
Big
looking
height.
Good. Yeah, I'm telling you, these conditions are showing some great jumps. Here is the legendary Little Morgan and Mike Jackson.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that dog is, I think Little Morgan is almost 10, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 11. Look at that.
And still can jump that far.
He's the greatest commercial Eukanuba has ever had, without a doubt. I mean, 10 years old, he can jump farther than 99% of the dogs in the world. And look at Lizzie, Dallas, Texas. I mean, they're from everywhere.
You can tell they've come long distances to jump big distances.
You see Reagan right here with his handler, Mike Johns. What these guys are doing is we're showing you the first of their 2 jumps. These are qualifying jumps right here. And you see dogs like Quasi that can absolutely jump out of the pool if he's not careful. But there's a lot of technique and strategy going in, especially when the temperatures get warmer. These guys will sometimes pass. They move in ready. They're watching one another, trying to figure out exactly what they need to do to move forward.
And you can see the Superfly semis that Quasi, Reagan, and Lizzie have done just that. They're going to pass. They know they're going to be in the top 6. So that brings us to Rebel and Chuck Mann.
They're in 8th place right now. Need a big jump to keep on rolling.
Gets a 19.4. That's going to move him up with a great takeoff and leap. Let's go to our hometown dog. We're going to bring Bullock back up to the line. Greg Curry.
Very different jumper here. I'm talking a line drive, man. Pure speed, not a lot of lift.
Got to make 18.8. Got to make 18.8.
I don't know.
Bullock,
wow.
Did he do it? He made it right to the inch.
Hometown boy still rolling. Browning, Big Baudouin.
He has to make 18.8 with that jump, but he's not going to do it, falling 2 inches short. So let's set the scene for the finals next week. Let's show you who the leader is right now. It's Quasi, but you got to love the story about Little Morgan, who's in 3rd place after a great jump of 21.10. So that's the way it sets up for the finals.
All right, Craig, let's get back over across the street to the Jones farm. Check out the retriever event. We've got Lyle Steinman and Jack coming up, without a doubt, the most successful duo probably in SRS history. Maybe J. Paul Jackson and Achilles had more good runs, but these 2 right here, Jack's still young, very talented. Obviously, Steinman has been able to take him to heights that even Danny Farmer couldn't get him to. Just an incredible combination, and this is their game. They're very good at this game.
Last year's Team of the Year winners on the line. The name of this game today in Huntsville has been Get to the Long Bird.
If you notice, he's standing very quietly. It's 120, 125-yard mark. Doesn't want to push him, because if they do get a little deep on this bird, get out of sight on their side of that creek.
What about Lyle on a field test like this? Is this his strength?
Absolutely. I mean, Steinman's pretty good at all of it. His weakness used to be holding a shotgun, and having the dog a little bit away from him, kind of what we might refer to as a hunting savvy test or a true hunting scenario. And he's made up ground there. I mean, the guy's just outworked everybody.
Listen to the strength of that voice, letting Jack know he's got to go a long way.
Yeah. Jack started kind of high right, but he looks like he's drifting down, doing a good job. But, man, 400 yards is a long way, especially when you got this kind of terrain.
Jack is a 2-time SRS champion. He's been here before.
Little Dido there. He's getting close, though.
Jack corrected himself, didn't he?
He did a nice job.
Lyle just patient. He's got the whistle ready. Going to correct that course. He plays this game better than anybody with attention to detail. He's a perfectionist. But Jack has gone a long way.
He's done a great job, and if you'll notice, the faults are kind of kicking up there. And what's happening is this Jack's probably right on the edge of their predetermined area of the fall. But at 400 yards, there's not a lot that Lyle can do. It's not like he can stop him and move him, because at 400 yards, you got to remember the sound to carry out there takes a few seconds just to get there. So there's your area of the fall. They're looking for the dog to stay in that shaded area, which is probably about 30 yards by 30 yards around the area of the bird there.
Jack has racked up now 22 faults as he's in the stream bed.
He's right there in there close, but there's really not much that he can do. This is another time where real birds would make it much easier. Very nice job.
Ends with 22 faults. Not a bad performance with Lyle Steinman and Jack, although that's not going to put him atop the leaderboard. Here's the way it looks. Clint Johnson still leads. Bobby Wills in second. Clint Johnson is the third-place dog. 2 more teams left to go. Lyle Steinman is one of those when we come back.
The Super Retriever series is brought to you by Avery, welcome to your life. Eukanuba, make a good dog great. Dogtra, world's finest e-collars. And by these fine sponsors: Ducks Unlimited, Zinc Calls, Dog Lovers Wine Club, and by Huntsville Sports Commission and the Alabama Bureau of Tourism and Travel.
We are ready now to see who's going to make these finals at the G.W. Jones Farm in Huntsville, Alabama. It's a lot of tension, a lot of excitement. Let's set the scene one more time. Clint Johnson has the lead. 2 teams left to try to make the top 6. One of those, Chris Aiken from Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Chris Aiken in Dallas, a lot of talent here and a lot of allergies. If you'll notice, Dallas is continually fighting, losing her hair, but she has a lot of giddy up.
It would seem that would be a distraction to a dog.
You know, Dallas is she's been like that. I mean, for 5 or 6 years, and they, as soon as they get that hair where it's growing well, something stressful happens, or they start training and she loses it.
Now the early birds, she's not having any trouble with. She marked them very well.
I don't know, it looks like she's a little bit left on that right-hand bird. Let's kind of see what happens. The way that mark's thrown, the judges have done a great job. I think Andy Raymer primarily, or Johnny Barlow, came up with this particular mark, but they throw it back against the woods, and it doesn't allow the dog to kind of get in there if they don't know exactly where it is. You'll notice, the gun is where your X is, and it throws back. It's got a little tight area of the fall. Finally, she gets in there, but gosh, 13 points. That may be that's probably the worst job we've seen on that particular mark.
Yeah, you don't want to have 13 points going for the long bird at all, do you?
No, and Chris knows it. She's going to have to absolutely kill this thing to make it. And so she's not showing great memory. She's excited. She knows there's another bird out there, but she really never locked in on her own. He had to kind of talk her into it, and that shows you with that line right there that
she's going way right. Yeah,
she has no clue.
Headed to the tree line. Chris can tell.
Yeah, there's a little pop. That's when the dog turns to the handler and he looks for instructions without being asked to do so. In other words, Chris never blew a whistle. She just turned on her own. So that tells you right away, hey, I have no clue where I'm going. And that hunt on that second bird
threw her off, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it just it just burned enough memory that it just didn't happen.
What's so fascinating about this game, how within one single handle, momentum can break.
Absolutely, and you start thinking about this. They're in the bottom half of the third series here. A week's worth of work goes down the tubes because of one little 120-yard mark.
She's already up to 34 faults.
Yeah.
Now, will they end it here? Will they stop the run? Or
no, she's close enough now that actually it would take more time to get her back in without the bird than it would just to let her probably pick up the bird. So she'll pick the bird up, get back in, but it's probably not. Matter of fact, we know it's not going to be enough for her to carry.
I don't know. I'm kind of doing the math here, Justin. If you take a look at it, Dallas is going to be in the top 6 with one team to go. Look at that scoreboard. Dallas is right in there, so Chris Aiken's going to be holding his breath as Lyle Steinman comes to the line.
But you don't want this guy chasing you down, I'm telling you. And this dog, although very new to Super Retriever Series, Lyle's been working with this dog a while, and I'm telling you, I've watched this dog run I've watched this dog run 2 series now, and I'm telling you, this dog is serious business. He can do it. And he's got a funny name, but he doesn't know it's a funny name. Pasha is not a good name for a boy dog, and whoever named Pasha, you did not do good. But I'm telling you, you'll remember him. Ooh, he overran that bird.
Bring him back.
Aiken still.
Or is he going to let him hunt?
I don't know. It depends on what he's doing. He's down. He's still in the area of the fall. He probably went down into the creek bed but never came back up on the other side, so the judges are probably giving that. Although they're going to hit him a little bit.
He's not off to a great start here.
Wow. I'd love to get a shot of Aiken right now. He's probably not doing jumping jacks, but he's probably clapping.
I'm going to get my dog in the top 6.
Right.
This is great. Pasha's having trouble.
The odds increase dramatically when you get 2 into the top 6. The chances of you bringing this thing home are very good. She dug it out, or he dug it out. See, the name still.
Yeah, it's throwing you, isn't it?
I'm telling you.
Now the short ones. At 10 faults, this is looking good for Pasha.
Got to get in here and knock this thing out. Bam. But remember, this is a one-bird test. I mean, we got 3 birds out here, but let's remember the monster is out there waiting, and Pasha better smash it, or at least get in the area and put on a good, strong hunt. Pasha! Big, loud sin, driving that dog, 400-plus yards, a lot of terrain change. Slope kind of falls off to the left there. You need the dog to really set his shoulder, pin his ears back, and dig in. Get in there for the long ride, just like a big, long swim. Drive, 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 just like Pasha's doing right now.
Oh, my gosh. Pasha is nailing it right on line.
Pretty good shape. Kind of coming through those shadows. The dog should have had a really good look at that flasher. Big old ATB sitting out there. Oh, she's getting. He is getting right there.
Oh, he knows.
Come up.
Look at that.
Bam. Get you some of that, buddy.
Man,
wow.
Oh, man. Comes through with 12 faults. Lyle loves it.
You bet he does, man. That puts 2 of his dogs in the last 6. He's got a great shot to win yet another one.
There you see our pros, and don't forget our 2 amateurs. Rebel and CAIT set for the finals next week. In the field and on the dock, Huntsville, Alabama is shaping up to be quite a competition. You've got to be here next week for the finals of the Huntsville Stop in the SRS Tour.